Welcome to another great episode of Smooth Business Growth Podcast, where we share 15 minutes of fast-paced, pure marketing strategies proven to move the needle in your business. So I'm your host and Captain Lindsay Phillips. I am the founder of Smooth Sailing Business Growth, where we help busy entrepreneurs attract and acquire customers faster through powerful and consistent content marketing. In fact, if you go to smoothbusinessgrowth.com, you can download your social media roadmap to help you do just that. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, actually, and which is branding. And we're going to be chatting with entrepreneur, speaker, and writer Pia Silva, who is a partner and brand strategist of Worstofall Design, where they build badass brands without the BS. I love that. And she's going to give us some tips on creating a badass brand. So let's set sail.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Awesome. So what do you mean by badass brand? I love that term.
Right. Everyone talks about brands. I'm talking about badass brands. I define badass brands as having two critical characteristics. One, they magnetically attract clients, and that means they're okay with repelling everybody else. Nice. And two, you're able to charge a premium price, charge more than the competition, and still win the business. So that's the whole goal.
I love that. And it can feel scary to like repel other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But It's like when I niched my business, I knew I was going to, turn business away, and it actually can be very empowering.
Makes everything so much easier because you know exactly where you should focus your marketing, where you should focus your messaging. When you get on a phone call, you can immediately decide that somebody's not for you and stop wasting time with them.
So true, man. Now, we were kind of talking off the air a little bit, and a lot of people they don't really get the whole thing about branding. They think that it just has to do with your logo, what your logo looks like, and that's it. So what would you say to those that believe this?
Yeah, it's a common misconception, but I think my definition of badass branding kind of shows that I'm not even talking about the visuals when I define a badass brand.
True.
Your logo and your website, they're critical pieces of your brand, but they are your visual brand. So the colors, the logo, all of that. Your brand is everything, including that. Your messaging, who you're for, how you present yourself, where you're positioned, quote, or where your niche is. Mm-hmm. And really what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. How do people think about you when the name of your business comes up? What's the first thing that comes to their head? That's really what your brand is.
Yeah, I love that. And it does incorporate way more than just imaging. And it's just so important to have consistency throughout that. So what does branding mean for like me as an entrepreneur or small businesses? How does it kind of tie into selling their services and growing their business?
Well, I specifically work with small service businesses, so usually 1 to 3 person service businesses. And in this particular space, your brand is really connected to your business. Yeah. I do just as much business consulting with my branding clients as I do branding because they're one and the same. What are you selling? What are you best at? Where is your highest value? How do you package it? How do you price it? How do you talk about it? And then how do you take people into the sale? And then what does all of that look like? So design comes after you've answered all of those questions, because you should, and this is the biggest mistake I see people make is, okay, I'm going to start a business. I need a logo. How are you going to decide what your logo looks like if you don't know all of these other things about what you're selling, why people should buy from you, all of that? So all of the visual decisions should come out of those answers that you find first.
Oh my God, that's so true. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. And I wonder why people do that. They're just so stuck on the imaging of it all.
I feel for them. I mean, I completely understand it. First of all, it's fun, right?
Yeah,
you feel like, how am I going to start selling if I don't feel like I have the things that everybody has? I have to look like a real business. So I understand that too. And, sometimes you do have to just throw something up there at first to get a little bit of traction. We don't even work with startups for that very reason, because we don't want to build a strategy around a hypothesis. We want to work with people. We only work with people when they're hiring us to do our services for them, when they have had some experience in the market and they are good at what they do. That's a perfect time to brand, because now we can take what we know you're already good at, what people have paid you for at least a little bit in the past, and we can build a brand that's going to get you higher prices, more attraction, more reputation. But you can't just make it up. You have to at first a little bit, but you really have to get those first few clients in order to get some real information to build your brand on.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. But yeah, that's a good piece of information. So what are some tips on building a brand, especially, like if you're a social media marketer, if you're a business coach? I mean, it's easy to feel like, oh, there's so many out there. Like, how do you stand out?
There are so many out there. These days, anyone can pop open their own business, pop open a little website and say they're a little company. So I think some of the easiest, simple but not easy ways to do this is to really hone a niche, really own a specific space. Sometimes that's an industry, but oftentimes, I teach a lot of people in my online bootcamp. I teach people how to productize their services. So you can target a wider range of clients if you have a specific process that you're known for. You can also own your space by owning a very specific voice. I usually say if you're going to have a specific personality and voice, it has to be in some ways contrary to the prevailing voice in your industry. Our voice is very contrarian. So we stand out. You don't have to do that, though. It should be authentic to you. This happens to be authentic to me and my partner. But it needs to be really who you are. So there's a lot of different ways to go. And usually I'm trying to help people find intersections of multiple ways. So maybe it's your voice and your productized service. Maybe it's your specific niche industry and a productized service or a voice. Mix and match.
So you're looking at people's strengths, their personalities, but also finding what opportunities are out there to tap into. Is that what I'm hearing right?
Yeah. And I think, again, badass branding is about premium pricing. And in order to get premium pricing, you need to be an expert. And in order to be an expert, you have to have a reliable process that you put people through. I help people build those kinds of processes and really methodologies or whatever your thing is, because especially if you're a solopreneur, you don't want to be reinventing the wheel every time, no matter how brilliant you are. And when you build these processes, people will trust you faster. It'll make your life easier, and you can become an expert at that process much more quickly. And that's how you raise your prices. So that's a very quick explanation of one route that I put people on often.
Yeah, I love that. And I like how you explain that the brand is, again, obviously not just the logo, but how it ties into you getting higher prices and more profitability, because typically you don't really tie the two together.
That's what I learned building my own business and brand, was how important being known in the market, having a reputation was, because I was able to attract clients through referrals once I changed my brand and got very specific and clear about who we were for and how we worked. We build brands in 1 to 3 day intensives. That's a very different, especially when we first started, very different and unique way to do it. Yeah. All of a sudden it got people talking. So I didn't have to pay for advertising. A lot of people knew what I did and they couldn't help but tell others. So that's really where the power lies.
Yeah, that's true. And social media obviously accentuates that even more so, and kind of get that buzz going. So do you do branding documents? I know I do some for clients. Just talk about branding documents for a little bit to kind of explain what that is and how it ties it in.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about like brand guidelines.
Yeah.
We tend to not think that brand guidelines are necessary for very small businesses because they are their brand. So what we hand over when we build someone's brand is a very robust folder of all of the elements that they're going to be using in every form. So it's like beyond the guidelines. You don't have to read anything. Here's what you use. Don't use anything but these. Here is the template for your social media posts, and here are the different screens that you're going to use. So you only use those. I find that when we build brand guidelines, we tend to do it more for larger companies where there are multiple people and everybody needs to reference a certain document. I know that's really a little contrarian in this world because some people come, they're like, I need the brand guidelines. I need the brand guidelines. I'm like, you don't know how to use brand guidelines.
No, it makes sense.
Here are the templates, So
totally.
that's my goal, is to make it easier for our clients.
That totally makes sense. And when we're thinking about the branding, or I guess here's a question for you. Do you go in and do like analysis or like how to tweak someone's branding? Like, how do you know if you need help or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I'm very focused on who I work with, and they're usually coming to me for one of a couple reasons. Usually it's just that they're really good at what they do. They have clients, but they want better clients. They want to be working less. They want to be charging more. Right. And that's really the sweet spot that I work with, and in the service business space. So our process is 2 steps. Step 1 is something called a brand shrink. It's an hour-and-a-half interview with me and my partner where I ask them all kinds of questions about the business, the brand, where they've been, where they are, where they're trying to go. And then I write them a brand strategy based on that. That brand strategy might have some business consulting in it, but it's essentially like, here's what you need to start doing, stop doing. You need to stop working with these people. You need to focus on this. Your message should be here. Like, stop, I want your prices to be here, whatever it is. And then at the end, I'll say, and we can execute this in your entire brand in a 1, 2, or 3 day intensive. And then that is when we actually build the whole brand. So that brand shrink allows me and the client to really see, for them to experience what it's like to work with us, but also for them to get a lot of value out of what is my brand supposed to be. And then once they see it, I say, you can go build this yourself, or you can hire us to do it completely in a very short amount of time. And, the clients that make sense for us are like a no-brainer. I have no idea how to do this. So totally. It works out pretty well. But strategy is always the first piece.
I love that. I've never heard of any branding specialists that kind of have that more holistic approach to the business.
We developed it out of a huge need. It didn't happen overnight. We kept adding pieces on because these clients kept coming to us, and I could tell that they wanted, I need a logo and a website. And I was like, but that's not your problem. So I want to give it to you. And also you won't know how to agree to pick this logo versus that logo if there's not a reason for it. So we actually we evolved into a branding company with all this strategy by trying to pitch people on the design. Because now, we show 3 logos and they pick one and it's it. Because we've already discussed this to death. We all know exactly what this logo needs to be. So when we see 3 options, I say to them, these are all good because these all hit all the points we agreed on. And they go, you're right, I see it. And they understand why they're picking the logo. Another reason it's hard to do graphic design when you don't have a brand is because, I don't know, should it be purple or blue? Or, should it look more modern or more traditional? I have no idea, because what am I basing this on except my own personal preferences? And that's not how you build a brand.
No, that's a really good point. Because a lot of it I find is based on personal taste. Yes,
which can drive clients and graphic designers crazy. That's why they say, I know it when I'll know it when I see it, which is everybody's nightmare. I try to train graphic designers actually on how to bring strategy into their process because it will make their lives easier.
Now, where does your business name and your tagline and your core message, your elevator pitch, all that kind of stuff, do you go into that as well? Is that tied in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The one thing we don't do anymore is officially naming companies, but we do everything else. So when we do the brand up, which is the intensive, we're designing the logo, we're designing and building the website, we're writing all of the copy.
Oh, wow.
We're creating the messaging. We're actually I'm writing people their elevator pitch. I'll write them an email for how to launch their new brand. We'll design all of their social media. We'll write the tags on their social media, whatever it is, so that it's cohesive. Like we were talking about before the start of this podcast, Lindsay, people are not consistent across all of their media. So we take this holistic approach and we make sure that everything is consistent, because we want you to leave ready to sell, not, okay, now I have to juggle all these other things I have to do. I would rather take care of it and make sure that you are just, ready to go and shiny and cohesive.
Now, here's a question for you. A lot of people have, they've been in business for a few years, and the thought of rebranding scares the crap out of them. Oh, people already know me by this name. They sort of feel like they're stuck in this one image or this one branding, I guess. You know what I mean? Like they're afraid to change, to rename, to rebrand. What do you say to those people that they feel stuck?
That's a good question. Change is hard for everybody. So
I know.
I can relate. Well, I will say that I never suggest changing anything without reason.
Right.
So if you're doing well, then you don't need to rebrand. If you're hitting your numbers and you're getting your clients, then you don't need to. If you're not, then what are you holding on to? We don't usually suggest changing your logo or changing your name unless it's wrong. Unless it's doing you a disservice, unless it is really contrary to the message that you're putting out there, in which case, especially if someone comes to us with an existing logo, sometimes we will just modernize the logo or tweak it to make it work with the brand. So I'm all about keeping anything that works. And you should be too. But if it's not working, then don't feel so stuck on holding on to something that's not working. That is really going to hold you back.
I know. And some people think that changing their branding and changing their website, all of a sudden they're going to get like a slew of different clients that are going to come out of the woodworks.
Right.
That's the flip side too, right? And people are like, woo, let's change everything.
Right. Exactly.
I had another question for you and it totally escaped me. I just lost the question. It came and went. Entrepreneur brain. So tell me a little bit about your 3-day intensives.
Well, they're pretty intense. Obviously, we built an entire brand. Our process is such that once we do that brand shrink, and that's kind of a product on its own, and we deliver that strategy and we agree to do the brand up, we do most of the work ahead of time. So we will prepare as much as we can. And then for the duration of that day, most of our clients are 2-day. For the duration of those 2 days, we will take the client through a process where we show them work, we get their feedback, and we make revisions in real time such that at the end of the day, their website is designed, built, and launched, and all of their materials are finished. And we hand over this zip file that they can, with all their files that I mentioned earlier, they can take and run with. Sometimes I'm literally making our clients order their business cards while during the brand up, because I don't want them to have anything else lingering.
That's awesome, because normally rebranding your websites are like, oh my God, it's going to be a 6-month haul.
It usually is. And that was something we really disliked about our previous way that we worked, because we used to do that too. That was just how agencies did it.
Yeah,
that's how
totally.
we rebranded. And we just found that there was a lot of BS. I mean, that's where the tagline came from. There's so much BS in a 6-month website project. I can tell you from personal experience, we can build really badass brands in a few days. I know, because we've done it hundreds of times. So if you're doing it over 6 months, it's really, I think, due to an inefficient process on the part of the service provider, or the client is requiring unnecessary time to let me ask my girlfriend, let me ask my uncle, what do they think? My husband doesn't like this logo. Okay, but your husband is not your target market, so we don't care what your husband thinks. So this is really cutting out a lot of that. And also, it's people dragging their feet, I think. It's fun to play with colors, and you get to stop you don't have to go out and sell yet. And selling is scary, and putting yourself out there is scary. So maybe if I'm tweaking my website and my materials for months and months, I don't have to do that yet. Oh, I can't do it yet because my website isn't up. It's a horrible excuse. But we all do it. I do it too. So I can relate. So that's why I can talk about it.
Awesome. So I love the idea of your brand shrink. And from my understanding, you have a questionnaire that you can share with our listeners.
Yeah, I actually wanted to share my favorite questions from this brand shrink. So I charged $1,950, about $2,000 to give this interview to clients. And I'm going to share like my best questions from this interview. So if you go to badassyourbrand.com/smooth, you can download that questionnaire and answer those questions, and you will get some really great insights into where your brand should be.
Perfect. I love that. Yeah. Honing in on your messaging and, your target market is so key. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, that is this week's 50-minute cruise to move the needle in your business. It goes by fast. And thank you so much, Pia, for chatting about how to have a badass brand.
Thank you, Lindsay. It was really fun.
Awesome. So if you are looking to achieve faster growth through content marketing, whether it's blogs, videos, podcasts, or social, look no further than smoothbusinessgrowth.com. So have a profitable and productive week, and may the wins always be at your back.